Flat Earth Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Sensual Goat, Refracted Curvature, Neil, did I miss anybody? No, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So welcome one and all.
Refracted is opposite of me on the panel.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Fortunately for me, I can't believe I'm going to say this is the opener to the show. My blood pressure has been hugely reduced by Danny Faulkner. Who would have thunk it? So, me absolutely losing my mind in the pre-show with some fundamentalist zealot claiming to be a fake flurf, lying about what the stars do, and then attempting to tell mush off when he fundamentally disagrees with something that's incorrect. Unbelievable. That tailing off a subject of whether or not we should tolerate the absolutely egregious behaviour that we have to suffer as flurfs.
Yeah, it is terrible.
Meanwhile, we do actually have something to cover today. So I picked up on this morning, and this is a guy who's not got a particularly massive channel. He's called Sky Story. And he's covering whether or not Flat Earth's a cult. Now, we covered some other guy, Cyber Waffle, who made similar claims that Flat Earth's a cult. So, in this regard, it's done from a completely different perspective, if you will, in terms of how he's approaching it. A lot more upfront about his feelings on it. I've watched about half of it already. But we're going to get into this, so we'll get straight into it after a couple of housekeeping questions. So, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Without the container, there could be no pressure. I believe we have people from Yale, professors, doing demonstrations.
Yeah, we'll get to that in due course, but you're quoting conspiracy cats, right?
That's correct.
You seem to be embarking on a personal attack mission against myself rather than simply answering a question, which you have already backed our assertion on.
Now, what Nathan is saying is you can't have pressure without a container.
Without the balloon, these air particles aren't going to be striking anything. Therefore, there is no pressure.
So
we've got Conspiracy Cats' summary. Now he's back on the scene. So we're at a high school level in terms of gas particles needing the walls of the container to create pressure. And without the walls of the container, there can be no pressure. Quote Conspiracy Cats. So yeah, that's high school level, though. We'll get on to the more qualified, shall we say. Well, there's nothing particularly bad about Conspiracy Cat's description, and he's certainly qualified to teach high school kids this stuff, and he's correct. Without the container, there can be no pressure. Anyway, the guy that we're actually covering is this dude, if I can find him again. Where was it? No. We'll get there eventually. This one, right. So this guy's called Sky Story. There was one of the housekeeping questions I do want to ask. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Don't all go at once?
No, it's not science, because you can't vary and manipulate anything.
Fair enough. Right, there's the link to Sky Story. Now, he's a small-ish YouTuber. He's got 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers, which is definitely small, even compared to us. So please share the YouTube love. Go and give him a like and give him a comment. You know, make sure he's helped along in the YouTube algorithmic love that I'm sure he desperately wants, in the same way I would have wanted when I was at 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers. So yeah, so drop him some love. He's obviously picking up a bit of traction because he's covering the subject in light of TFE, I assume, because this came out 3 weeks ago. So he's picked up a fair degree of traction. 21,000 views from 8,000 subscribed channel is exceptionally good. So good for him. But yeah, we'll get into it and hopefully cover some of the higher level academic citations in regards to gas pressure and space being fake. So without further ado, as I say, this is a Sky Story, and the video is called Flat Earthers and Space is Fake, : Cults who don't know they are cults.
Lately, in the comments on this channel, I have begun to receive messages like this. All you do is take pictures of the sky, space is fake, and it's all CGI. Now, I've been aware of the flat earth conspiracy nonsense now.
I mean, it's a gross oversimplification of it, right? But are you getting the sentiment? He's saying that people are coming along and the comments they leave is, look, it's all fake. Now, from his perspective, he's looking through telescopes. And he's like, well, how can you possibly say that? It'll make sense.
For years, I may live in the Canadian backwoods, but I don't live in a bubble. But this whole space is fake thing, this was a bit new to me, so I had to look it up. And I learned that it seems to be part and parcel of the flat earth conspiracy nonsense. And I'm not.
I like when people moan about flat earth and then start looking at statistics about how many flat earthers there are or what flat earthers say. It's like, if you're going to talk about whether or not the sky is what it's claimed to be, surely your first port of call would be the sky. But it seems like his first port of call is to look at conspiracy theorists and what they believe. That's his first port of call from what he's just said.
I'm not going to mince words. I don't care who this offends. I'm just going to call it what it is. Nonsense.
Really? Nonsense? Okay, let's deal with what we've got on screen here. Number one, this is CGI. Now, I only know that because you've played out the rest of this video and it expands out into a spherical Earth in a sky vacuum. This is definitely CGI, first and foremost. This area is claimed to be 10 to the minus 17 torr. It's a sky vacuum. What's this? Clouds? Like representing the high pressure gas that we're all breathing on this area. All right, well, there's dispersion laws, entropic dispersion. Gas fills space. It's a law of nature. So when you talk about what flat earthers say, no, we'll give you some slightly better citations then, if that's what you want to appeal to, right? This is Yale.
Gas has got a pressure and volume. Feel free to use PV equals nRT. I take a box and I put some gas molecules on one side.
Notice the first thing he requires to form gas pressure is a box to have the pressure be formed in. So you take a box. So first thing, before you do anything, you need containment to have the pressure to make this example. Yeah, straight away, we've 5 seconds into what this Yale professor's talking about, and it completely is violated by what this guy's got on screen. Where's the container for all this gas pressure? What's it contained by? Nothing. Like rockets can leave this area and go to this area for moon travel and such like. Travelling to Mars, maybe? So there's no containment between this and this. Yeah, this is a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, and this is claimed to be high pressure right next to it. In your rhetoric, that's nonsense. I'm not going to care who I offend when I say, you, sir, Sky Story, you're just stupid. I don't care if I offend you by that. You're not recognising laws of nature. Now, if it offends you, me calling you stupid, idiotic, retarded, because you put up a second law of thermodynamics violation on your very stream that you're claiming to debunk how flat earthers think. No, I'm a flat earther. My name's Nathan Oakley, and I'm definitely not appealing to what you would statistically say when I go to Yale and he describes how gas pressure's formed within containment, to example the second law of thermodynamics. Let's just see what else he's got to say. So far, we know that what you've got is definitely bunk because you've got no containment for the gas pressure you're showing. But let's see what else he's got to say.
And there's a partition holding them in that side. Then I remove this partition. And I wait a little bit, then I know the gas fills up.
Oh, I see. So if we had, beyond the fantasy CGI that you're presenting, contained gas, let's pretend this line's a container holding the gas in containment away from the 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum. I mean, that's not the case in the heliocentric rhetoric, though, is it? Their paradigm has rockets travelling between the two. No containment whatsoever. But let's pretend, like in this example, that this is a container, and we removed it. The gas instantly travels into the area of volume available to it. It's a law of nature. It's called the second law of thermodynamics, as detailed by Yale. Just so we're all clear, Sky Story, that makes you stupid. To believe this garbage! Yeah, this is a violation of the second law of thermodynamics as detailed by Yale.
Now that's like perfume leaking out of the bottle. Hot and cold, when mixed, will never separate back into hot and cold. A gas, that genie that got out of the bottle won't go back. This gas that came out won't go back. There's a whole lot of processes which we call irreversible.
So once the gas fills the space, it ain't coming back. So if we imagine the heliocentric bullshit world of sky vacuums and Earth forming gas pressure, the very first particle leaves the ground bazillion years ago and never returns. It enters the area of volume they think is the sky and just dissipates and never comes back again because it's got nothing to bounce off and form pressure with. So we'd never have formed pressure in the world of heliocentric sky vacuums.
If you believe in the flat Earth conspiracy theory.
Whoa. I don't believe in anything. Earth's measured flat. That's how Earth is measured. So I don't believe anything. I don't know what you're babbling about.
Nonsense. That takes a special kind of stupid.
Special kind of stupid to what? Violate laws of nature with this kind of crap? Like sky vacuums next to high pressure gas? Yeah, that's stupid. You are stupid. I'll be reiterating how stupid you are each and every time that you, I already know you will, point out how stupid we are with our beliefs in measured flat Earth. No, it's a flat Earth that's measured flat. The globe that you believe in, that they produce this CGI to back for stupid people, is based on flat Earth measurements. So your faith requires Earth to be measured flat. That's not a belief I hold. It's a demonstrable fact. Shout out for the super chat. Who was it? Sensual Goat. Shout out to you, Mush. Smash the super chat to support this channel. Thank you very much indeed. That is you, isn't it, Mush?
No.
What? Say that again?
Who's Sensual Goat? I've forgotten.
Sensual Goat?
No, man, that's not me, bro.
Oh, it's Sensual Goat.
Sensual Goat, dude.
It's Liam. Yeah, sorry. Yes. I'm getting confused with who he is. Thank you very much for the super
I
chat.
was returning the favour because you did it for QE last night. That was all, mate.
All right. Yes, thank you. I do appreciate it. 100 people watching. Woo! Please share the show if you've not done so already. I've already done a little call to action. I'll do it again towards the end of his video. But in the meantime, please share this show. Stick it on your favourite MySpace or Bebo or whatever it is you use. Facebook, Twitter.
Come back to that. So it turns out a number of content creators, authors, writers, and scientists have been getting messages like this over the last few years. This space is fake. And having dug deeper into it, it is, of course, rooted in flat Earth cult nonsense.
Is it? No. Immediately I've overcome that objection from you that you're now reiterating for the second time for some reason. Not that we didn't hear the first time. Actually, no, it's based on a law of nature. Laws of nature being that which occurs always, and gas dispersion occurs always. Imagine you passing gas. Does it form a sphere shape? No, it disperses throughout your home, doesn't it? Like any gas, that's how gas behaves. This is laws of nature, not cult belief. You're just wrong.
And those who hold it have this idea that there's no space over Earth. Maybe there's...
Sorry, what? No space over Earth? No. Outer space, the sky vacuum is fake. Space, what? Length, breadth, and depth? Above the ground. I'm occupying space right now. That's not something that I would say. No, outer space, the sky vacuum, like this 10 to the minus 17 torr bit in your CGI that you're definitely using here. Yeah? That isn't a sky vacuum. This is not 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. It would violate a law of nature. Like the one that Yale just went through. We'll get some other examples up shortly.
There's a dome or something, but beyond that, there's...
No, there must be containment. maybe we'll need to go back to conspiracy cats just to make that point clear to you, in case it wasn't clear. High school level we'll return to.
Now, what Nathan is saying is you can't have pressure without a containment.
Without the container, there can be no pressure.
The balloon, these air particles aren't going to be striking anything. Therefore, there is no pressure.
Yeah, so you're saying we say dome. No, we're saying without the container, there can be no pressure. It's high school level. That was a high school teacher explaining that if you don't have a balloon, you can't have pressure in a balloon. Like, air doesn't arbitrarily take sphere shapes and form high pressure for no reason in no containment. Without the container, there can be no pressure.
Nothing or ice. And those who propose it also seem to be married to the idea that those who take pictures of what is in space, whether they're asked...
No. Those who take pictures of what is in space, there's two different categories. One is a believer in a sky vacuum that points his telescope upwards. That's you. The other is a dude or gal that claims to be in the 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum, looking back at high pressure gas, violating natural law. They're called liars. Like actual liars. People who claim to be in an area that does not exist, spacemen and space women. They're liars. They are not residing in 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuums, looking back at high pressure gas not dispersing, because that violates natural law.
Astronauts actually in space or orbiting observatories.
Orbits, like derived from flat Earth measurements. Now, orbits is a Keplerian mathematical concept. You can't reify the actual mathematics that they use to better predict where the lights in the sky would be with this thing you call orbits, because the orbital motion is derived from a base measurement that gives you a radial value to put a sphere Earth into a motion around the sun. But to make the Earth into a sphere, you require Earth to be measured flat. Ergo, the calculations, useful though they may be in heliocentric terms, to better predict where the stars will be, violates the base measurement. You can't be standing on a spherical surface moving around the sun. That's just maths. Maths that violates the measurements of Earth. So it definitely isn't the case that we're in an orbit. That's a reification fallacy that is dependent on Earth being measured flat to achieve it.
Such as the Hubble, or those of us on the ground using astrophotography equipment, that were all part of some big conspiracy.
No, so I separated the two. There's you looking up at what you believe is a sky vacuum. It isn't. You would be dead. You wouldn't be breathing. We'd have no gas. It would have never developed gas pressure in your CGI world of sky vacuums next to high pressure gas. That's just fake. This is CGI. It is fake, because if it was real and this was a vacuum, there'd be no gas here.
Now, I'm going to give you a spoiler before I go deeper into this nonsense, but...
Deeper into the nonsense. Oh, maybe we need a new citation. Yeah? Let's try a different one. Go ahead.
Sorry. Notice how many times he's saying nonsense.
Well, every time he does it, I'll just bring up a different university that describes the laws of thermodynamics, as opposed to it being just something flat earthers say and believe in.
At ocw.mit.edu.
All right. Let's try another pretty simple process. Let's just take a gas in some volume.
So, like the other guy, immediately we need the gas to be contained in a volume, like a box that he's drawn. Do we have any containment around his CGI blurf in a sky vacuum? There's no containment. So straight away, like the last guy, this violates the second law of thermodynamics then, doesn't it?
V, and over here is going to be vacuum of equal volume.
Okay. So we've got kind of like an amount of gas in a contained volume with a vacuum in an equal volume. Kind of like this. This is kind of roughly the same size as this. This is claimed to be high pressure gas, and this is claimed to be a vacuum. In this CGI bullshit representation, this complete Muppet idiot, I don't mind if I offend him, believes in. Yeah? Okay, let's see where this guy goes from here.
And we're going to remove the barrier.
Barrier? Oh, no, yeah, before we get to any barrier to achieve gas pressure, the glurf in a sky vacuum immediately violates the second law. There's no containment for the gas to form pressure. So we've already violated the description of entropic dispersion because we've not got containment for the gas in the first place. But nevertheless, let's see if we take it to be, maybe he'll get there, like there isn't a barrier. Let's just see what would happen if it was actually like this. High pressure gas, vacuum, but without a barrier, exactly as described. Hopefully he'll get to that. Let's see what he says.
You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available, right? You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available. And we're going to remove the barrier. The gas is going to fill the available volume. Take a gas, and over here is going to be vacuum, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume, fill the available volume, fill the available volume, fill.
I'm pretty sure we're all clear what's going to happen in your second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum belief. That, let's be honest, I don't care if I offend you. You are idiotic and believe this crap because you've got a telescope and you can look up at black. And therefore the sky is a vacuum, even though MIT and Yale make it explicitly clear that you take a gas with some volume and you put it next to a vacuum and the gas fills the volume. Yeah, so this is not real because this is fake. Yeah, like CGI fake, like the people were telling you. You were just too stupid to understand what they actually meant. When they said it's CGI, you went and got some CGI. When they said it was fake, it was because you couldn't develop gas pressure to be breathing. So it is fake, and this is CGI.
Like I said, it takes a special kind of stupid to believe this nonsense because...
Yeah, I agree. You are a special kind of stupid. You believe this nonsense that violates natural law, as described by MIT and Yale.
Because the reality is, anybody, anywhere, can go out and buy a telescope and hook a camera onto it and point it at the sky.
And prove that there's a vacuum in violation of the second law of thermodynamics. I'm thinking, no. I don't think you're going to overcome natural law with a telescope, sir. That's fundamentally idiotic. Now, I don't care if cause any offence here, but you're stupid. Yeah? Now, you didn't seem to care if you caused offence, you said. So I don't mind if my audience causes offence. I mean, originally I was telling them to go and be really nice to you. But don't stand on ceremony, audience, when you go to this channel and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a comment that makes it explicitly clear just how stupid he is. So you're really stupid. You believe that gas doesn't fill space. That's a violation of natural law, you stupid Dumbo. Don't worry about offending him. He didn't care. Go ahead, whoever that is from Discord.
Nathan, did he say he points his telescope up to the sky?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh, dear.
Go ahead.
I think every single astronomer, regardless of where they are on Earth, is going to point their telescope up to the sky. And doesn't up require horizontal plane of reference?
Yeah, he'll level his telescope to the equatorial flat plane. That's correct. He'll need a flat Earth for his telescope to function correctly.
Interesting.
Interesting that he'd be, referencing a flat plane, the equatorial plane with his equatorial mount, for his telescope. Yeah, he'll need a flat Earth for that. When he describes pointing it up, you don't have up on a ball. Where's up? Is this up? Because that kind of looks like out to me. And balls don't have frames of reference that are with respect to horizontal. Where's horizontal on a ball? You don't have it. So you've only got out, not up. To point your telescope up, you'd need a horizontal plane of reference to describe it in that manner. Stop using flat Earth to describe how your telescope works. Yeah, try and describe it with your nonsensical bullshittery that violates the second law of thermodynamics when there is no up. Only out. In a bullshit world that doesn't exist that idiots believe in. Stupid idiots. We don't have to send on ceremony with you, do we, when we tell you how idiotic you are, believing in violations of the second law? You stupid man. How stupid are you? My name's Nathan Oakley. Hopefully, like I'm doing for you, like getting people to go to your channel, when you reply, you'll do the same for me, right? You'll put a link to my channel, yeah? Send people to my show. When I point out just how stupid you are with this violation of laws of nature that you obviously don't know about. My God, how dumb.
And shoot pictures of what's in space. For crying out loud, with technology where it is in this era, you can take pictures of space with nothing but a cell phone camera. And it is...
Space? Like the second law of thermodynamics violation, outer space 10 to the minus 17 Torr sky vacuum that you think the black area is. No, definitely not. We'd be dead. No gas to breathe.
It's fair to say that tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people have done so. Not everybody really devotes themselves to the art and science of it the way
Science? I mean, this isn't science. You're in a category error. Clearly, you don't know what science is. Pointing a telescope up with respect to a plane, that would be the equatorial plane that you use. Stop using a flat Earth to say that Earth's not flat. Very irritating. Meanwhile, we'll just get a little bit of a... Oh, no, is this going to be an ad? Let's just see. Yes, it is. We'll get a nice little summary of the positions from the actual academic position.
The service module exploded. The transmission came through. Bing! Houston, we have a problem. Hey, we've got a problem here. It was like that was a right. That was an incantation.
In your mind, a major event that's happened in a place that doesn't exist. When the tanks blew in the area of volume that the gas we're all breathing isn't vacating and filling. You know, they're looking through the window of the module in that story of Narnia, Sky Vacuum. At an area of volume that the gas could be filling, but they're looking back at what, a blue marble with clouds on it that isn't expanding into the area of volume, 10 to the minus 17 torque.
Then I know the gas fills up.
Spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume.
You have gas, it would expand into the vacuum, absolutely.
Talking about an ideal gas expanding against a vacuum.
The fact that they can look back at a high-pressure gas not filling space and suggest that on their journey they've had a gas tank explosion because beep, 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 they've had a word through the radio. Houston, we have a problem. Oh, this is a Hollywood story. Oh no, we're going to lose all of our gas to space because it expands into it. Oh, look at that blue marble of Earth with gas around it not expanding into space. That's the story. They're just laughing at you. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a fairly concise summary of the gas pressure and how it would fill the area of volume you believe the black area you're photographing with your camera.
Astrophotographers and astronomers do, but many people have done so, and anybody can do so. In many major cities, you're going to find stores that sell telescopes, cameras, and mounts, and you can order them online from any number of manufacturers. And
123 people watching. Please share the show if you've not done so already. Please smash the share button. In case you don't know, we're covering a channel called Sky Story. There has been a link go by to let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. If you're going to go and leave a comment on him, please point out how stupid it is to believe in second law of thermodynamics violating sky vacuums.
you can take these pictures yourself. So when I say it takes a special kind of...
Sorry, you can take these pictures yourself. You're a liar. You cannot take this picture, because this picture would be from the vantage point of the second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, where the lying astronauts claim to be. No, you can't take this picture. Don't lie.
You're stupid to believe this stuff. I mean...
You believe. This is your belief that you could potentially get this vantage point. You can't.
It's exceedingly hard to keep a conspiracy tight between just a very small group of people. Now imagine a conspiracy between the hundreds of millions of people who at some time took pictures of space.
Now that's an idiotic suggestion, isn't it? To suggest that, what, you're part of a conspiracy because you've got a frickin' telescope. That's just stupid.
That's hundreds of millions of potential leaks.
No, that's hundreds of millions of people with telescopes.
Literally impossible to contain every single person involved in a conspiracy.
Yeah, not one of them are confirming a 10 to the minus 17 Tor sky vacuum when they're pointing their telescope up and level it with respect to an equatorial plane that's flat. That's merely measuring a flat Earth and leveling it, your tool, to it. That's what you're actually doing. You're proving Earth's flat.
Is a potential leak. How do you stop her up? 100 million potential leaks.
No, none of them are leaks, you stupid man. None of them are confirming this vantage point. The only people who pretend to be in the sky vacuum are the lying astronauts who violate the laws of nature to go out into Narnia. No, dum-dum.
So with it said at the outset that this whole thing is nonsense, and it is, it's flat out nonsense.
Yeah, this that you think exists in a sky vacuum is nonsense. There'd be no pressure. The gas would fill the space. So this is CGI nonsense that you're presenting.
As a person with a fairly heavy background in the field of psychology,
what, pseudoscience,
I confess to having a curiosity regarding where does this come from?
What this CGI image, a computer? That's where this image specifically came from. It's not going to be what you're talking about, though, is it? I mean, no doubt.
What kind of thinking inspires people?
So when it comes to Earth being flat and space being fake, you, as a pseudoscientist, practitioner of quackology, think that you need to assess how people think? Is that how your brain works? I wonder if that table's perfectly flat. Excuse me, sir, what is your opinion on this table? You don't think it would be down to the measurements? Or when looking at high-pressure gas, not looking at gas behaviour, you don't think that would be the first place to start? No, this Dumbo thinks you need to look at people and how they think. Yeah, that's not going to answer how the Earth behaves, or how gas behaviour is it? Getting opinions, maybe do a little survey. That's just stupid, isn't it? The first place you need to start looking is at the Earth. If you want to decide what Earth is, maybe figure out how it's been measured. Or measure it. That's what you could do. As for the sky, you could figure out how the gas pressure that we're actually breathing needs functional containment for it to be at pressure. That would be a decent place to start if you're going to look up at an empty void, the space, the length, breadth and depth that isn't the ground you're standing on. Yeah, it's not a vacuum. We're breathing high pressure gas. There must be containment.
People to buy into nonsense such as the Earth is flat.
No, that's how it's measured. Your orbits that you appealed to earlier, you obviously haven't looked into the origin of your blind faith in this religion of heliocentrism, have you? Or you'd know where orbits came from, what was measured to achieve that mathematical reification that you're engaging in. You obviously haven't got the slightest clue how heliocentrism works or its history or where orbits came from. You appeal to them, but you'll need a flat Earth for them.
And space is fake. Let's take it.
It is. Outer space, the sky vacuum, is fake. This on screen is fake. That's right. It violates natural law. I cited MIT. You cite how people think.
Deeper look. We live both at the beginning of the 21st century and at the dawn of the third millennium. We live in an era where computers, which were mere science fiction only 2 generations ago, now fit in our back pockets. An era with spaceflight launches happening almost every single week.
No, definitely not. When you say space flight launches, you mean trips to outer space, a sky vacuum. No, never will that ever occur because the sky is not a vacuum. You just believe that.
An era where anybody can buy a very capable drone or a scientific balloon capable of high altitude.
A what now? A scientific balloon? Oh my God, this man doesn't know what science is. There is no scientific balloons. Science is a method for establishing the cause of natural phenomena through systematic experimentation, based on scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. The method works by observing a natural phenomena, formulating a prediction of your supposed cause of that phenomena, and then actualizing that hypothesis, scientific prediction, by varying that which you suppose will cause the effect and seeing if it causes it or not. It's a method. A scientific balloon, dum-dum. Oh, wow, this complete idiot, Glurf, doesn't know what science is. He thinks balloons are science. Wow, well, you're very stupid. And I'll be sure to make sure my audience let you know. Nathan Oakley, 1980, the Flat Earther, instructed them to come and tell you just how stupid you are. I mean, you weren't worried about standing on ceremony when you decided incorrectly to call us stupid, right? Based on what you went out and found thoughts of people had their brains going with your pseudoscience quackery in psychology. Yet meanwhile, Earth's measured flat and the sky's definitely not a vacuum.
I think his big thing is he's confusing measurement with science. But if he cared so much about measurement, what are the measurements of Earth? That's the end of this question.
Yeah, he's too stupid to have done that, though. Fairly typical Glurf, standard fare, Glurf belief. Glurf belief.
Flight, or sit down in front of a computer and connect to a computer on the other side of the world by way of...
So your justification for sphere Earth not being flat is you can connect via computers and scientific balloons. You're an idiot. There's no other words to describe you, sir. Stupid is the word I would use, and it would be accurate. Shout out to Matthew Eastman. He says, is there a tentative data where all roads lead to... Oh, tentative date where all roads lead to a flat Earth is available. Soon, very soon. We're 99% done, I would say. Now, when I put that to my compadres who are helping me edit the book currently, they're like, oh, no, it's going to take a long time. But it's very close. you know, we've re-edited all of the chapters that were already written. They've all been gone through with a fine-tooth comb by several different people. It's had QE-isms inserted where necessary. All of the data has been double-checked and triple-checked. The grammatical nature of the book and how it flows into each chapter has been done. There's one new chapter about flights that wasn't written because it didn't exist as a housekeeping question, therefore couldn't have existed at the start of the editing process. That needs to be written from scratch, but that is actually going to be easier because there's no, you know, this is how the chapter currently looks, let's jig it around and replace it in the order. None of that's got to happen with this flights chapter. That's the only one that's unwritten. Once that's done, Flatsy's going to go through it again. That is to say, she's much more grammatically inclined than the rest of us, and go through that again with a full fine-tooth comb once it's actually complete. Then it goes off to the publisher. He will check it again, and then it gets published. So that's the timeline from here. I hope within a month. All roads lead to a flat Earth being the book I'm writing, in case anybody hasn't figured that out. It's a year in the. It took a year. So I wrote it. It then got rewritten and then rewritten again, and now we're on the 4th draft. So it's gone from being a light-hearted book that was just intended to be a description of housekeeping and a rough summary of what happens on the show, to being the most comprehensive flat Earth reference book you will be able to buy at the point of publication. That's a bold statement, and it's true. I'll say it again. At the point of publication, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth will be the best flat Earth reference book available.
Satellites, and talk instantly to persons on the other side of the planet. So how is it that in an era when we have so much knowledge and so much technological prowess, that anarchisms like the Flat Earth movement and...
Right, are we anarchists? What is he babbling about? Quite regularly on this show, I will tell my audience, once you know Earth is measured flat, get on with your day, you don't need me anymore. Now, if you want to engage in debate with fundamentalist religious globe-believing zealots who insist that Earth is a sphere because, like you, they've got a base knowledge and have looked up with respect to a plane of reference they levelled their telescope to believe in a sky vacuum, those sort of insistent idiots. If you want to debate those, then yeah, hang around Flat Earth Debate and you'll learn how to overcome numpty idiots like this guy Sky Story. But you don't have to. There's no anarchy. I'm not saying relinquish your faith in government, am I? I'm saying Earth's measured flat, here's demonstrable proof of that fact. And pointing out to people like yourself, Sky Story, how your globe Earth belief is based on flat Earth measurements. That's what I do. But you don't have to give me anything, and I'm not telling you to relinquish control of government or anything of that nature. That's utterly nonsensical. Stupid assertion from an idiot. Go ahead from G.
I think an anarchism is anything that opposes an established authority. So in that way, we are an anarchism.
I'm not opposing the established authority when I say the globe Earth comes from flat Earth measurements. If you want to believe in the established authority when it comes to globe Earth, and I point out how that creation came to pass, that's not actually me opposing it, is it?
No. It's when you say that space is fake. I think that comes into opposition.
Bloody hellfire, and I have to concede. So I'm an anarchist.
Nonsensical ideas such as space is fake still exist.
Not nonsensical. It's in line with entropic dispersion laws.
There are numerous answers, but they're all rooted in how cults...
Go ahead. Neil?
No, it's the verbiage. You keep saying space. We don't say space. We say outer space or the vacuum of space. The entire space is fake.
That's just silly, isn't it? If length, breadth, and depth, that's really silly. But we know what he means. He means outer space. And when he's saying people say space is fake, I do it. I often use it in titles and thumbnails. Space, as an overarching description, when clarified by us, is outer space, the sky vacuum, Neil. Yeah, you're right. But we know what he means.
Develop. Now, typically when a person hears the word cult, they think of some type of predatory but religious-based organization. But what a cult really is a group of people that have become very good at preying on others, especially those who suffer some form of isolation, and getting them to give up their capacity to think freely, while tricking them into believing they are thinking for themselves
They're kind of like people who can't visit a sky vacuum pointing their telescopes up with respect to the level plane of reference that is the equatorial plane and saying that they are amongst the millions of people who affirm that there is a sky vacuum. That kind of cult-like belief that isn't really very sensible, but you as an isolated individual are repeating on behalf of your sky vacuum overlords. Okay, we're all clear so far how your faith ties into cult-like behaviour for a globe. The globe cult and its ludicrous belief in a sky vacuum. That you think you've confirmed this stupid belief by looking up? No, mate. No, it's just you in a cult.
Every cult functions by way of similar dynamics.
In a year, he's produced 174 videos. So he's a very dedicated cult member.
Who, this Sky Story guy?
Aye. Ironically, stories aren't necessarily true.
The cult presents an idea that is plausible, offers a group of people that are united in that plausibility, creating mutual social support, and sets themselves up as the elite bunch in the know, often in contrast to everybody else.
So, in contrast to MIT and Yale, NASA say they visit a sky vacuum, which is ludicrous, but you think you're part of a group that can confirm that by looking up with your telescope. You are in a cult, Sky Story. Okay? Yep. NASA's your cult leader. Okay? Just so we're clear, who's in the cult, not me.
Who, depending on the nature of the cult, may be framed as simply persons outside the bounds of the cult, or possibly even enemies of the cult.
So it's Yale and MIT enemies of the cult when they describe dispersions of gas, because NASA are in contrast to that, and you believe them. Maybe they're enemies, maybe MIT are just the evil cult of MIT and Yale.
In this way, cults set themselves up as mutually supportive. They reach out to people who hold views or have behaviors or for some other reason find themselves outside a social network.
They're kind of like Katy Perry when she says, what do I have this flat earth thing? And then, like a flash, Neil deGrasse Tyson was there to tell her how wrong she was. That kind of cult-like behaviour from the leaders of the cult of heliocentrism. Yeah, we've got plenty of examples of where your cult-like leaders will swoop in and tell people how they need to readjust their thinking, because they definitely shouldn't be thinking about Earth being flat and space being fake. Yeah? Then they'll give them some magical words like gravity.
In other words, they feel somewhat isolated, and the cult offers them a place of social acceptance and even support at the expense that the individual adopts the cult's way of thinking and its selected behaviors. But there is another.
But you have to adopt the thinking that even though you're not going to a sky vacuum, the men in the spacesuits that they need to stop their gas that they breathe filling the sky vacuum as they look back on an uncontained Earth with high pressure. You have to believe that nonsense. Yeah? That's you. You're describing you and your cult.
Another crucial element to the way cult dynamics work. Within that selected group of beliefs that every cult will require, many of them seem to make
You'll be required to believe in gravity. A non-force force that you can think of as a force that's a conceptual fourth-dimensional space-time bending. Formerly a force that held gas here, overridden 110 years ago by Einstein, bending space-time in a conceptual geometry known as pseudo-Riemannian fourth-dimensional space-time. Yes, so you've got to believe in that to overcome the other ludicrous notion that gas won't fill sky vacuums. So you'll have to fall in line with that belief. Yeah, because it is just conceptually described by Einstein in mathematics. It's not something physical. It's not something experimentally validated. It's not something you can observe in nature. It's a geometry invented by a man called Einstein that overcame the nonsensical force of down when gases disperse into volumes away from Earth. Not down, not 9.8 meters per second squared, but bent space-time maybe. Yeah, just non-stop overcomes for the garbage that you have to believe in when you look up and think it's a sky vacuum in your cult that you belong to. A Sky Stories cult that he's defending. Shout out to Unitox Femi for the super chat. Elevation, angle, and sea level cult is interesting. No, it's not a cult. If I talk about an elevation angle, I like your sarcasm though. That's just a measurement of Earth being flat. Like those elevation angles that went on to create heliocentrism and orbital motion. necessitating sky vacuums and beliefs in pseudo-bent spacetime.
Perfect sense, but some of them will not. In fact, some of them might be quite contrary to reality in some way or another. When a person first considers entering such a cult, they may be in doubt of those beliefs, but the cult is embracing and accepting and draws them in. As they are drawn in further, there is more social pressure put upon the person to accept those strange beliefs. So, the longer a person is associated with the cult and the further they go into it, they will experience that initial open acceptance transforming into social pressure saying, you must believe this way. And eventually the person will be confronted with a choice.
Yeah.
Sounds like the globe.
That's exactly what the globe does. You're told not to believe in flat Earth. It's like, what happened to you can believe whatever you like? That's what I say. If you want to believe you're on a globe, you're entitled to your belief. I'm not a cult leader. Believe whatever the bloody hell you like. Meanwhile, laws of nature, entropic dispersion, they're not going to be thwarted by your belief in a globe. They're just fact. I'm not a cult leader when I say these things. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, we don't have a belief. We know Earth is measured flat, but they have a belief that they live on a sphere.
Adopt the bizarre belief or be rejected by the cult itself. This forces the person into a psychological...
Yeah. Accept heliocentrism, sky vacuums, and violations of the measurements of Earth being flat, or you get condemned as a flat earther, and then you're opening yourself up to the most horrendous ridicule imaginable, and perfectly tolerated by society. So it's perfectly acceptable to mock and ridicule and even accuse flat earthers of crimes, as is the case in the pre-show for this very recording. That's what you can get away with, if you don't buy your cult of heliocentrism. That's what you get.
State known as cognitive dissonance, in which they must hold two opposing beliefs at the same time.
So, for example, this on the little thumbnail, that'd be your belief that you can have a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum next to high pressure gas. That's your belief. You have to hold that in contradiction to Yale describing entropic gas dispersion.
They never seem to happen backwards. They only happen forwards. And we cannot list all of them.
I will take this opportunity to list one second law of thermodynamics violation, which would be the notion that we have a sky vacuum. That handsome man is absolutely correct.
Frequently one of which they know to align with reality, and one of which they doubt. As the social pressure of the cult...
Yeah. Reality, gas fills space. Garbage, high pressure gas not filling space. So you, sir, are in cognitive dissonance. You hold two positions that cannot be simultaneously correct at the same time. One, gas doesn't fill sky vacuums, and the other, as per Yale and MIT's description of exactly that, you've got gas filling space. Even high school teachers will explain it in no uncertain terms. You need containment.
You can't have pressure without
Nathan, hold on.
Without
Hold on, Neil.
the balloon, these air particles aren't going to be striking anything. Therefore, there is no pressure.
So go ahead, Neil.
This is the perfect example of projection. This is all projection.
Yes, it is. Okay, shout out to Unitox Femu. So speaking of beliefs, how about... Hold on. Speaking of beliefs, how water behave? Yeah, flat.
Builds toward acceptance, they sacrifice their own critical thinking, accepting more and more without question those beliefs of which they were in doubt.
So are you not in doubt of the second law? It's a law of nature. That which occurs always, just taught in universities. What? But you will choose to believe that gas won't fill space. Good.
Critical thinking, like how water behave.
Yeah, I read out your super chat.
Yeah, I'm saying, but he said that like a critical thinking, and I know critical thinking, how water behave. He can also critical thinking how water behave. He believes that water is curving and water does not want to curve. That's critical thinking.
Yeah, you can extrapolate that from his diagrammatical CGI example at the beginning of the video. So yes, although he didn't say that, yes, you can only come to that conclusion based on what he put on screen.
I'm still objecting to the whole belief category he's put physical existence into.
Yes, because he's going around assessing what people think as a psychologist. Going about it all wrong. He's not. You said it already. He's not looking at the measurements, right?
Yes, and measurements aren't beliefs.
Right.
Every cult in history functions by these dynamics, whether it's relatively tame modern religious cults or
Heliocentrism is a religious cult. You're in it. It came from the Roman Catholic Church, reified into existence based on flat Earth measurements.
Sociopolitical cults like Marxism, and in particular the charisma cults around Hitler during the World War II era. This map takes the form of an azimuthal equidistant projection
of a globe. So you project the points into the latitude grid after measuring those angles off a flat plane, and then wrap a tube around. No, you don't. You wrap a conical, like weeble shaped cone from the globe to project it into this. So the south gets wrapped up round the edges, and it's North Pole centric. But it's a globe projection.
of the entire Earth. And it's the map the Flat Earth cult has co-opted to try to represent their model of what the Flat Earth would look like. The map presents the Arctic as the center of the Earth, and the Antarctic as the white circle encompassing the outside of the Earth. And, in fact, Flat Earthers often believe that the Antarctic forms this wall of ice around the entire world that holds back the oceans and keeps them from falling off the planet.
No, we debunked that in 2016. Lots of idiot numpties chose to ignore us after debunking it. But we absolutely wouldn't ascribe ourselves to this azimuthal, North Pole-centric globe projection. No, we don't. And when people come to us in the past and say, no, we've got an ice wall, what ice wall is our response? Prove it is our rebuttal. Go ahead from Discord. G+, rather.
Just want to say good morning.
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everybody doing?
Very, very well.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Loud and clear. Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, then we're all good.
Met some flat earthers who also argued that the world is on an infinite plane and the Antarctic is essentially a wall of ice designed to keep us from going beyond the bounds of our own world. And I'm sure there are other beliefs too, because, frankly, when you're just making stuff up as you go along, you can imagine any nonsense you want to. But, by and large, flat earthers believe that the sun is a small sphere that floats around and over the Earth in complicated...
No, that's a stereotyping fallacy. I mean, idiots who use these fallacious reasonings suggest that, well, if one flat earther has said it once, then they must all believe it. No, I've just pointed out before you made that baseless assertion, that stereotyping fallacy, that no, we debunked it. We looked at this map and how it functioned with respect to the positions of the sun, and it didn't match. When comparing it to time and date, people who are actually standing on the ground looking at the sun and the map, they didn't tally. It didn't work. We knew it didn't work in 2016. So I don't ascribe myself to that. So I looked at what created it. Now we are, 8 years later, so, this is a globe projection. But the globe itself and the latitude system that's being depicted on these projections might be accurate, but the landmass isn't. It's distorted by globe projection. So you can't call it an accurate map of the world. We wouldn't, we don't. We stopped in 2016 after checking if it was right or not, and it is not.
Patterns that makes the season. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. There would have to be something under the Earth to present a sunset. They believe that when it's winter in the northern hemisphere, the sun is orbiting over the outer areas of the map.
The hemisphere begs the question that you've got a planet to reify based on the flat Earth measurements that you're taking, that you're implying with orbit. You haven't looked into where these things originate, have you? Orbit. Okay, where'd that come from? What was measured in the first place to derive this paradigm mathematically? Do you know? Yeah, I've already told you. You need a flat Earth for it.
map, and when it's summer in the northern hemisphere, the sun is orbiting over the inner areas of the map.
Now, orbiting is just describing the position of the sun with respect to a plane. Keplerian orbital motion when putting a spherical Earth derived from minimum elevation angles to Polaris for a radial value that could be turned into a spherical value. When measuring it flat, definitely not going to be capable of reification. You're bending the ground that's been measured flat to reify that into orbital motion. It's just not possible. Go ahead.
It's kind of crazy that I've only heard like 40 seconds of this video, and I've had like 4 straw men laid at my feet as a flat earther. This is a cute video.
And very amusingly, they don't think.
Good plug. So this is a guy called Sky Story. The video is called Flat Earthers and Space is Fake, cults who don't know they are cults. Irony of irony, he's in one. But please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And although, joking aside, I said, go and give as much vitriol as you choose, I will take that back. Please leave a polite comment that won't immediately get removed by the videographer or the YouTube algorithmic bot when you let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And, as is always the case, the only reason I'm sending my audience to him is in the vain hope that he'd do the same for me if he was to respond. He'd put a link to my video.
Think that there are 24 hours of day and 24 hours of night in the Antarctic. The concept doesn't fit their anti-factual model regarding how the sun moves over the Earth. And looking at this, we see a great illustration in how cult-like and controlled flat Earth thinking is. Many people live on islands relatively near the Antarctic where they experience the lengthened days in the summer and the lengthened nights in the winter. And any civilian can live in the Antarctic just by getting a job at one of the outposts. And those persons will see the 24 hours of day and 24 hours of night.
They will they? Well, where are their videos? I mean, if it's so easy because you're employed, surely we'd have some evidence from them. But I haven't seen any. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't one. Go ahead, John.
He also appealed to a model that he laid at our door. Do you ascribe to reality having a model?
It's reification fallacy.
Night. I'm from the far north myself, and I've seen the 24 hours of day and night many times, and so have tens of millions of other people. Days and nights that last 24 hours and more might seem weird if you live outside the Arctic or Antarctic circles, but for the rest of us, it's just life. Now,
No, we've taken the latitude. I've also observed it in the north, tracked it, and figured out how wrong this map was. So when I observed it, and admittedly with my own eyes, I've come pretty close because I've been pretty far north, but just never in person experienced the 24-hour sun. I've got to the point where I'm convinced before I saw it and tracked it and had people actually show it me on live streams that it did occur. So I've never altered my opinion of that. Same goes for the south. I've had contradictory first-hand testimony from people who've, one particular individual, Robert Shortman, who spent 18 months down there and said he didn't see a 24-hour sun. So that's the contradictory testimony that we have. But you're now appealing to people who can be down there because they work down there. Fine, I'll accept that. But where's their evidence that they're presenting to affirm that which you suggest they would see? We're not getting that. Again, for us...
Wait, where's this?
For us, this...
Sorry, Nathan.
For us,
Wasn't that the whole point of this little TFE thing? Why? How could he sit there nonchalantly and say millions of people have seen this thing when supposedly this thing was just evidenced like a few weeks ago? Are you serious?
What about his evidence? He says he lives there. Does he have anything on his channel with the 24-hour sun? He says he's got a telescope and space is real, but he lives there and has no video of this 24-hour sun? Wow.
I would like for someone to logically formulate the 24-hour sun into being a sphere.
You can't. You have to affirm the consequent. You have to suggest that you will travel antipodal to the bottom of a ball. That is to say, if P, I assume my journey to Antarctica is down, and I will arrive antipodal from whence I started. Then I will observe a 24-hour sun. I observe a 24-hour sun, therefore my antipodal assumption stands true? Absolutely not. You can't turn it into a globe proof unless you assume by pure fiat that you are antipodal when you arrive in Antarctica.
But that's literally the okie doke they're trying to pull off right now. Like, again, this was supposedly a heavy quotes experiment that was just supposedly done. And now you're going to sit here and say millions of people have witnessed and evidenced this? Like, it didn't just happen 2 weeks ago? Like, y'all didn't make a whole fiasco about this? Like, you weren't calling people from Antarctica asking for guns and all this type of nonsense? Like, you can't be serious right now.
So the elevation angle with respect to a flat plane of the sun stays above the horizontal plane of reference for 24 hours. That's what we have as an observation.
Yeah, just think of that flat plane as a ball and lob's your uncle. Don't worry that you measured it flat. Don't worry about that.
A person on another YouTube channel recently spent $35,000 to fly an ardent flat earther down to Antarctica so he could see the 24 hours of day for himself. But did that make a difference to the flat earth cult? Not in the slightest, when he shared his accounts in video of what he had seen with his own eyes. Other flat earthers promptly accused him of now being part of the conspiracy. And then they did what they always do. Because the evidence did not fit the required bizarre belief, they just wrote it off, claimed it was done with green screens or some other nonsense.
No, that's not what we did. I mean, what we did was point out that Earth is measured flat. Now, I did it to a guy who was actually there. He called me up, to seek cope. And I said, "You measure Earth flat, dude." And he put the phone down on me, screamed about guns, and told his audience into the lens of the camera, quote, he tried to deflect with measurements. What measurements would they be? There'd be these measurements that Toon is holding up in this diagram here. They're flat Earth measurements, elevation angles, the ones that John just went through. Let's just have a listen to what Toon did when confronted by Brian. Modern day debates, and Toon presented flat Earth elevation angle measurements for proof of his globe. Absolutely epic. Check it out.
You just showed flat Earth there.
Brian, what model is used to produce this, Brian?
Is a prediction of what will be seen as the sun circles over a flat plane. Because what you're showing there is flat plane measurements, and it is a measurement.
Just show flat Earth there. Brian, your elevation model is used to...
Sorry, could I address what you just said there, please?
No. Do you think there's a 24-hour circling sun in the north?
I will address that. You're after just making claims there now that need to be addressed. So if you're going to make claims that need to be addressed, expect them to be addressed.
All right, I'll hold this up so everybody can see.
If you wanted to just ask me a question,
what I'm talking about.
Then you should have just asked me a question. It's not a model. There is no globe model. It doesn't exist, right? Sorry, is there some reason why you're ignoring me?
Is there some reason why you're making stupid claims?
Why you're ignoring me?
I used the globe model.
Come and debate you.
I used the globe model.
You asked. That's a flat Earth. You just showed flat Earth there.
Brian, the globe model is used to produce this. Brian, are you ignorant of this?
Is there some reason that's not a scientific model? Whatever you're showing.
I don't care what you say about it, Brian. I use the globe model to produce this.
You don't know what a scientific model is, then.
Brian, I don't care what your stupid opinion is about.
Excuse me. Is there some reason? Is there some reason?
I hate to do this. I just muted you guys because I do need to have order. So, reminder beforehand, everybody agreed we're going to talk about whether or not flat Earth is still tenable after the final experiment. So
we'll just go with Toon's flat Earth elevation angle measurements to the sun then. And no, it's been confirmed by this dude. He's holding them up on screen now. These are flat Earth elevation angle measurements. That's why they're being represented on a 2D piece of paper with angles with numbers next to them. There'd be degrees. Yeah, angles. Two straight lines meeting at a vertex with respect to the flat plane of reference used to gather the measurements. So they're flat Earth measurements. The Earth's measured flat. I don't think there's any contention here. Sorry, John, were you cult-like in your representation of the flat Earth measurements that were absolutely acquired in Antarctica? Or did you talk about how Jerem was a shill? Which one was it?
Just the measurements.
Just the flat Earth measurements and what they acquired down there when they measured Earth flat. I see. So this is another stereotype straw man fallacy with a generalization, stereotyping us like we all attack Jaren as being a shill. No, on the contrary. No, what Jaron did was attack people like me when we point out science proves things, so he could go down and perform a experiment that was just an observation, and then gather up some flat Earth measurements. We pointed all that out.
So what happened was this flat Earth believer, now confronted with the evidence of his own eyes.
Ed?
Hold on, that's the first thing he said that was true. This flat Earth believer. He's right about that.
Jaron, yeah, Jaron believed Earth was flat, unlike us.
Well, if you put in context everything that he said about people who believe the Earth is flat, it could almost like hold true, you know?
Yeah. I'm not critiquing him in terms of his critique of Jaron, but now he's talking about an individual rather than the stereotype like, this is me. It isn't.
Who brought that up to his compatriots suddenly found himself classed with everyone else, and suddenly found himself facing social pressure and ostracization by his cult members.
Sorry, you think that he suddenly felt ostracized after TFE? No, Jaron, like any flat earther believer, or somebody like us that knows Earth's flat, we're at the hands and mercy of the belligerent, globe-believing cult members like yourself, who feel it's perfectly legitimate and justifiable to call us stupid, not stand on ceremony, right? Even when you're wrong and in cognitive dissonance and violating natural law, you still think it's perfectly okay to demean us, yeah? And stereotype us, like use fallacious reasoning. Like, just scummy behaviour by people like you. Now, Jaron faced that long before his own side of believers turned on him, yeah? Making his group look very cult-like. Yeah, I'll agree with that, but that's not me. I'm a flat earther. My name's Nathan Oakley. I don't follow in some ether-believing true Earth cult that has nothing to do with Earth being flat. Now, they've defiled flat Earth with their true Earthism and Ethereanism and bullshit about maps that have been debunked. That's Jaron as an individual. And when I say they, I mean him and his cohorts like Witsit and Dave Weiss, who have sold this app for money. They've made monetary gain at being wrong, in spite of us telling them how wrong they are. Now, you could perceive as gathering up cult members with beliefs about flat Earth that are wrong. Yeah, I'll grant you, it's just not us. Yeah? You and your behaviour that you've exhibited here is the same kind of behaviour that Jaron allowed to put up with for 10 years. It's just now flipped from egregious, scummy globe believers doing it to egregious, scummy flurfs doing it. Now, they're flat Earth believers who are very disappointed that Jaron is incorrect map that he was pretending to believe in, even though he knew it was wrong, and is now defiled, and having decried them all as idiots, yeah, they're annoyed with him. Shocking, innit?
Members. Because when a person subscribes to any kind of...
Ed?
I'm sorry. You got to give them credit, right? Because this little social experiment, like what we're listening to, I feel like is going to be, for a little while, it's going to be the norm. It's really just, oh, we've shown these guys this evidence, so-called, and now they've completely fallen apart. It just sounds like it's going to be like a psychological attack. I've heard people say this is like a spiritual attack, whatever. But yeah, that's the tactic they've gone to. And you got to give them a little bit of credit. It's a decent tactic if you don't have any actual evidence.
Well, what's the actual evidence? The actual evidence is this, isn't it? Tomb with his flat Earth measurement.
So just to be sure we're on track on that topic, and then...
Yeah, thank you, James. Right, he's claiming a scientific model, which his globe is not. He doesn't have a globe model. There is no way for him to insert natural science into what he's claiming. And what he's showing there is on his page is not natural science. That would be measurements. So.
Yeah, this isn't measurements. This is predictions based on the globe models.
So you just showed something there and you said it was a globe model and predictions off a globe model. No, there is no globe model. What that is a prediction of what will be seen as the sun circles over a flat plane. Because what you're showing there is flat plane measurements. And it is a measurement of what will be seen as the sun circles over a flat plane. Because what you're showing here is flat plane measurements of 360 degrees over time.
The sun the shadow will be at this
Has
angle,
it been seen
and
before?
the shadow will be this length.
Right. Yeah.
So just so we all heard that. The shadow will be at this angle. Earth is measured flat. That's what we got from Antarctica. measured flat Earth. Good.
No, I'm saying, we heard it. See, those people, the people that know the Earth is flat, we hear things like angle and measurements and flat plane. People that believe, they don't hear anything. They get tricked by a 24-hour sun and a map that they held as a model.
What's bugged out to me is that Toon could literally just tell Brian just that, oh, these aren't measurements. These are predictions made by the globe. Like, they've allowed these people to convince themselves that their predictions have more status than actual measurements. Like, how psychotic is that? Can you believe that?
I don't think what Toon was displaying was actually a prediction. It was just like if you take measurements over time and you notice a pattern within it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But that's not prediction, though.
It's pattern recognition.
Noticing
yes.
a pattern.
Don't interrupt him. Yes, that's right, John. It's pattern recognition as opposed to predictions. Correct.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, but check this, guys. If there was only an algorithm to fish out all the comments of the Globers over the years, who said if the Earth was flat and the sun was small and circling above the Earth, you would see the 24-hour sun. They used to say that a lot.
Listen, you don't kill the vibe here.
Of cult, they must swallow the nonsense to be part of the cult, and anyone who stops swallowing it is now just everyone else. But if a flat earther could get past the cult-like thinking, they would have to face some very difficult questions with this model. If the
No, you presented an azimuthal equidistant globe projection. Go ahead, whoever that was.
So that was me, yeah. Just when you brought up cult-like behaviour. Hey, Nathan, hey, everyone. Hey, Chocolate. Toon and other people can't stop talking about these flat earth measurements that they made, right, in Antarctica, supposedly, with the shadows, right? But none of them want to address the 3.5 kilometre long Mount Rossman shadow that should have been there, that wasn't. They're coming up with everything they can come up with to try and make that shadow not exist. But they want to talk about these shadows of little snowballs. Not that they're not flat earth, not that you wouldn't need a flat earth to measure these shadows. The point being is that when it comes to, your man just said cult, it's like, well, if the globe is not a cult, then how come you can only address these shadows and claim that they're not measured on a flat earth when they are, but you can't address the other shadow that should be there and isn't? You know what I mean? Like, how can you say that we're a cult when you can't address that? You know, a shadow that should be there in reality is not there. How come you can't address that?
I'm intrigued by this, Brian. Right, I know you're adding fuel to the fire, but it's another thing in a list of things that will maybe become a gate. But along the similar lines, there was an alleged removal of certain material that had what looked like the corner of screens meeting. That was shown. And then somebody else came out and showed that the mountain matched a different photograph with all the same snow caps on it in their footage. Like, literally, it was an absolutely perfect match. You're like, okay. So, as much as I don't necessarily, like a moth to a flame, want to get into this dust cloud, sometimes the people presenting the anti-evidence to say that it's been staged and faked really do have some compelling stuff. It really is intriguing. Wouldn't you agree? Your shadow thing is just the same. It's just intriguing.
Well, yeah, I would, because what I would say, I'm not trying to promote me, right, by bringing it up. But the point is that if there's a sun shining at the angle they claim it was shining at, because that's the angle that they measure off a flat plane, right? What they're trying to call a globe proof, right? Flat plane measurement. Then if it's casting that shadow with a snowball, right, because it's at that amount of that elevation above a flat plane, then there has to be the shadow from the mountain it's behind must also be there. And that would have to be geometrically 3.5 kilometers, right, in length. Now, where their camp was, that means that the shadow should have cast straight across where they were, and it never happened. So all these other things are brilliant because I'm just saying, like, there's constantly new stuff coming out that's problematic with it. And I don't want to go out and say it's not real, but it's a bit like when you ask, if the sky was a vacuum, then when you state, sorry, Nathan, if the sky was a vacuum, then all the air we breathe would fill it, right? It's like that. If the sun was behind the mountain, then the shadow would be there. Do you know what I mean? It has to be. There's nothing to stop it being there. There's nothing. I've heard all the excuses. There was a crevasse, then that was shown that there wasn't a crevasse. There's a massive hill between the camp and the shadow. I showed that there was no hill. Do you know what I mean? That the camp was actually slightly downslope from the base of the mountain. No matter what, they can't. So it got to the point of just personal attack eventually.
Well,
right?
yeah, well you've approached this. I've seen your videos, right, in a way that I really like, in the respect that you're not necessarily drawing a conclusion. You're just pointing out an anomaly. Now, the mistake that all of the rest of the flat earthers in the dust cloud make is they want to make a conclusion desperately because the conclusion is where they seek their cope. It's in a studio, therefore there is no 24-hour sun. Like, hang on, don't jump to too many conclusions. Now, let's say for the sake of argument, I take both stances at the same time. I say, okay, it's beyond all doubt, it's faked. It was done in a studio. However, there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica anyway. People would lose their minds, wouldn't they? You're like, no, what you're doing, Brian, is showing an anomaly with what they're presenting. You're not making the conclusion that it's therefore in a studio or that they faked it. You're just saying, here's a question. What gives with the shadow? That's it, right, Brian?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I made some videos before that and I just debunked the whole claim, all their claims by debunking the rotation of their globe via the very cameras they were mounts they were solar mounts they were using. Right, so I debunked their globe, their claim that the Earth was moving with that. So I stayed away from all the. I avoided all the controversy and the conspiracy, but it's like I couldn't avoid that. It's like, no, there should be a shadow there. So where is it? It's like I'm not making, as you said, I'm not making any claims of it not being a 24-hour sun. I'm just stating that if everything is as it's supposed to be, then in reality the shadow must be there. So where is it?
Right. Where is it?
I'm getting,
just say one thing?
personal attacks.
Yeah, no, not at all. Go ahead, whoever that was. Yes, feel free.
Yeah, it was me, man. Can I just say one thing? Brian, I thought this is something Brian noticed too right away. What I noticed right away, and to me, well, that's why the whole thing is instantly fake, I just don't believe it, was when I saw the west to east sun going in the circles around him. Sun simply doesn't go west to east anywhere on Earth.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
West
Yeah, but
east.
see the thing about it is that within that paradigm,
Hold on.
I noticed that
like,
first.
wait a second,
I did notice that much. Sorry.
What's that?
I did notice that, and I ran at that
That's
first.
Like,
I was really careful, Mush. Hold on.
I've done
I just need to address Mush. Mush.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You've got to accept this is the case. You can have them over a barrel with the stars, right? Which you did. Kudos. Right. I'll fall on that. I can't think of the terminology. I'll back you up on that to the nth degree. I yelled at that guy in the pre-show to defend your honour. You can't deny what the sun does, right? If you just check the footage from 2016 in the north, it does.
Wait, it does what?
What it is, Mush, is it's an optical thing.
Right? I want to hear this clearly from Nathan. Brian, just 1 second. Nathan, you're telling me that somewhere on Earth, sun goes west to east.
Yes, I've got it documented in the 24-hour sun footage when we tracked the sun on a flat Earth live in 2016. Yes.
Holy shit! This is. I mean, I don't know what to say. I'll just go on mute for now, man.
Were you unaware that there's a 24-hour sun in the north, Mush?
I'm absolutely aware of that, but it's going east to west.
Well, hold on. Well, then you must appreciate that must be the case then, right? How can it not be?
Going east to west? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sun
if it's
is going east
all
to
the
west.
way around you, Not rising and setting, right? That's not what I said. But in terms of a full 24-hour period, it must go the other direction for it to make a full rotation around your position. It can't not.
No, the direction is the same, east to west. The direction of the sun doesn't change.
It does.
Yeah, you're confusing with rising
I'll just go on
and
mute for
setting.
now. Think about this.
Exactly.
Talk it out with
The stars rise in the east and they set in the west. When the sun does not set, you will observe west to east movement.
Yes.
Not only that, I can observe it from here in the height of summer. When it goes on its widest arc, the vector I observe goes the other direction for a small amount of
based
time.
on your relative. How are you facing, like, right? Like you can turn around and say left to right, right to left, whatever, but the sun itself doesn't change.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. West and east aren't changing. But the sun goes beyond. I can even point at it as I stand where the tree line that it has to go past at that point in summer. Then it's going the other way, in literal terms, with absolute directions in mind. Sorry, I can't. I'm stuttering around because I wanna agree with you like I did when it came to the stars. I just can't.
No. You'll see. There's some kind of misunderstanding here, bro. You'll see. The sun doesn't change the direction of the way it's going. It's always going east to west. Now, relative to you, it can be anyhow you turn around.
You're wrong.
You're both right. Right. What Moshe is saying is the movement of the sun, right, is going in the same rotation, right?
Exactly.
Now, as a rising and a setting throughout the world, that is east, rising in east and setting in west. But when you take in, this is where I made a mistake, Moshe, because I was thinking more from a logical point of view. When you take in the fact that it has to go around you, then at that point, you will have a point when in its rotation, if you were in let's say you were 90 degrees north, it's going to at some point appear to do, if you try to use east and west and east, it's going to appear like as if it's going west to east. It's not. It's still going in the same rotation as it was going in. It's not going it's not after reversing. But the problem is east to west and west to east don't really come into it after that. And Adam pointed that out to me, and that's what really woke me up to the mistake I made. There is no east to west and west to east when you have that situation happening. You just have the direction of rotation, and that depends on what the way you're looking. So if you can see it coming left to right,
just like you said, it's like
you still see it coming left to right or whatever. You still see it coming left to right or whatever. But the point is that
I'm just talking. Okay, sorry.
I'm trying to point out something. This is the mistake I made, right? I had to eat humble pie in front of all the borders at the worst time in history within this debate, which is at the TFE moment. There was never a worse time to have to eat humble pie, but I had to do it. I was wrong, because east and west don't come into it at that point, because you don't have a rising and a setting. With the stars, it always does. With the sun, because the sun can do a 24-hour thing, doesn't matter whether it does or doesn't happen in Antarctica. If it's doing it in the Arctic, then no matter what, you can't really bring east and west into it. Because what's your reference? It's going around.
So confused.
I don't know.
You don't need to be.
The sun is always going the same direction.
No.
It's always moving in the same rotation. It's not going backwards.
I don't care where you are on Earth, and you understand what I'm saying. The sun is doing its own thing, independent of where you are and how you observe it.
And the same was true in the Antarctic. What they were showing from the footage from the Antarctic, the same was true, except for at one point in that, because this is the thing about their globe, right? Because it was matching what they were trying to claim on their globe, that's why they come up with the clockwise and anti-clockwise movement. Because when I was looking at it,
that's where they screwed up. That's where they screwed up, bro. That's why they wanted to make it look like it's going opposite direction in the southern hemisphere. That's the whole. That's how they screwed up.
I can't state they screwed up yet. I can just point out things like the shadow of the mountain is not there. But that doesn't. I can't state right now that they absolutely screwed up, because I don't have. I can just point out the shadow of the mountain is not there. I can't state that they have absolutely screwed up on this. You know what I mean? The point is, I know it matches what they would need it to match on a globe, but the point being is that they were showing it going east to west at the back of the mountain. But the problem is that's daytime at the other side of their globe, which would be east to west, or sorry, they were showing it going west to east at the back of the mountain, but that's daytime side of their globe on the other side of their globe, which would be east to west. So the whole thing is convoluted. It's not possible to make any correct sense out of it at present until we know more. Do you know what I mean? I don't even know if it's a second sun. I don't know what it is. But the point is that when it comes to that, if that is a 24-hour sun and it is doing that in Antarctica, then it is going west-east at some point for the observer. But east and west east don't matter at that point, because
but it does that
it's
here.
just a rotation.
I just want to do it on camera just so people can visually.
Yes, please.
It's not going to be the best depiction. It's just going to be me pointing in various different directions, but I'll have a bash at it and then I'm going to ask people to stay tuned. So with a rough idea of what I see out from my vantage point, east is that direction and west is that direction. And currently in the winter, the sun doesn't actually come up over that side. It comes up behind me and then goes down again. So east to west. But at the height of summer, it's coming up out of that window, almost due east. And then it goes up in a vector, but then it reaches a point where it comes back down again. Now at that point, it's reached the west and it's coming back down. Yeah? Well, at that point, the direction is most literally described as going from west to east from how I view it. In terms of the direction that you describe as a rotation, it's not changing the way it turns, but it's reaching its apex of the vector that I see and then coming back down again from west to east at the height of summer. Anyway, with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to G Plus and Discord for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.